Hi there, church family. You might remember for one of our recent video shorts in our series on Matthew, I explored Jesus' teaching about the challenges of putting new wine in old wineskins. As I dug into God's word to create that video, I was more than aware that the period of change we're going through made that teaching so much more pertinent. It was around this time in the summer that you might remember I took a break. Conscious that I was feeling exhausted from the volume, the significance of both the challenges and opportunities brought about in part by the growth we're experiencing. But then following a conversation with one of our regional ministers, I recognised that I needed to rest. That wasn't simply physical rest, although I promise you I really needed it, but was actually more about spending time with God. Resetting some rhythms, resting in Him, reflecting on our current situation and seeking Him for what might be next for NPBC. As I listened to God, I found myself led to 4 key insights, which I want to briefly walk you through now. The first, and I believe the most important, is this. We're a really busy church, and that is leaving limited space for God. I'm always nervous about taking my own experiences and trying to place them upon our church. However, I believe that my recent journey is a microcosm of where we find ourselves as NPBC. I was busy, running to keep up, doing some things because, well, they'd always been done that way, whilst wrestling with the fact that they often didn't feel like the right things to be doing. Of course, not all that busyness was bad. I was part of a team covering a lot of ground, and that was often good, but it wasn't sustainable. The greatest challenge, though, was that busyness left little time for God to break through. Little time for me to rest in Him, to listen to Him. Little time for me to experience His love, to show it back to Him, and then to be able to show it to others. I believe if you look at an average Sunday morning, an average week of activities, or even the lives of so many in our church family, this is a significant issue. It's no coincidence that those who have arrived at our church since COVID have frequently described us as busy. And to be church in the way that it was intended, I believe we must slow down, place greater emphasis on seeking the presence of God, both individually and together. If we're to remain rooted in Him in order to bear fruit, we simply can't compromise on this. The second insight is this, that proactive, intentional mission is not currently part of our core identity. The NPBC DNA is often described as a warm welcome. This is recognition that the care offered to those within or arriving into the church family is brilliant, is significant. The importance of that can't be underestimated. It's part of what makes us us and is a powerful way for us to live out God's love. However, your greatest strength is also often the greatest area of challenge. At its heart, this element of our core identity relies on people coming to us so that they can experience it. With a half full glass, we'd highlight MOPs, food for thought, brigades, perhaps Alpha as examples of those missional activities. But with a glass half empty, we might say, well, we'd completely missed Jesus' call for every single one of us to go and make disciples. To be church in the way that was intended and with a growing community on our doorstep that doesn't know Jesus, I believe we need to rediscover God's heart for mission. Thirdly, it struck me in my time with God that the majority of our issues, if we can call them that, are not ministry-based, but are concerned with our resources, with our systems and structures. As I reflected on the things that have increasingly been taking my time and attention and weighing me down in this role, I was struck that so many of them are in support of our ministries, rather than them being ministries themselves. Resourcing, so building sustainability through volunteers, through people serving at all levels. Leadership, governance, accountability, staff direction, supporting their development, investing in people, administration, processes, finances, premises, especially the building development project, communication. Of course, some of the challenges in those areas have been exacerbated by societal or technological change or by the pandemic. And of course, it's impossible to completely separate them from our specific ministries. But the approach required to address them is much more about running an organisation than it is about leading and discipling and caring for a community of God's people. All of this led to a fourth and a final insight. The growth and change that we're going through as a church means that the scale of change required is significant. The challenges we have require more than just a project. We need a program of change to ensure we can build a healthy, sustainable environment within which God's people, including the staff he has called, can grow in their relationship with him, thrive in what we each do to serve him, and bring others to know him too. I'm convinced that what has got us this far is not sufficient for the next stage of the journey. Or we might say, we can't put new wine into old wineskins. I'm very aware that if you're sitting listening to this, it might all seem a little bit melodramatic, so let me balance that out. Last Sunday, we reflected on the fact that God's kingdom is here. It's working. We don't always see it or understand it, but we should have no doubt that God continues to build his kingdom in this part of creation called Buckinghamshire. Every so often, we get glimpses of that kingdom. There are many I could tell you about, maybe many that you could share, lives being changed in and through Jesus. And it excites me that these are just a taste of what is to come. God has brought us this far. And if we keep our eyes fixed on him, he will carry us through and on to future adventures that we could only dream of. We'll be talking through a lot of this at next week's church family meeting as we reflect on what it means to be a healthy church. And I'd love you to be there. As a Baptist church, we believe that we're all in this together. Of course, there's still leadership required, and that's well understood. But the scale of this challenge and the decisions on how we approach it must be shared by us collectively. That too, I believe, is part of the change that is needed. Church family, make no mistake, God is at work in us and amongst us. I pray that we'll prioritise the need to listen for his voice and to follow him wherever it leads us. And I look forward to continuing in sharing that journey with you. So make it a priority. Come and join us at the church family meeting, Monday the 25th of September, 7:45 to 9:45, where we cover all that and more. And we lay it all before God, knowing that is the best thing that we could do with it.